On this episode of Why Arizona, I had Ryan Corry, the Director of Development from St. Vincent de Paul. Today we were able to cover more information as far as who St. Vincent de Paul is, more about their mission to feed, clothe, house, and heal, and how you can personally and professionally get involved with their organization. Today, I wanted to welcome my good friend Ryan Corry from St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to do this.
Ryan, you have a pretty unique background in the sense that you have always been very service-oriented. Would you mind sharing just a little bit more about, how you've come to where you are in your career?
Yeah, there's not a lot of choices when you're not very smart.
Oh gosh, get out of here.
So that's part of it. I think growing up, we did a lot of volunteering. Some of it by force. My mom would drop us off at St. Vincent de Paul and say, go help those folks load the food boxes. And it was mainly retired people. And so I was 10, my brother was 7. And we were kind of like little monkeys climbing up the shelves, pulling the food down. And something about that experience just kind of stayed with me. Did service work through high school, did service work through college. I was a youth football and basketball coach, which, sorry for those parents, but then kind of jumped right into nonprofit work after I graduated college. So been in a number of different states and a number of different fields, education, performing arts, but back to St. Vincent de Paul, kind of where I feel like it started. Something was ignited in me. And so now, in more ways than one, coming to Phoenix, coming to St. Vincent de Paul, this is a homecoming for me.
And you can tell that, servicing the community and the general population of, the Phoenix Metro is definitely your passion. And you're so good about, how you handle those relationships and, building contacts here in town. But would you mind just sharing a little bit more about St. Vincent de Paul? I'm sure there's a number of individuals that, have heard of it, but may not know everything that the nonprofit has to offer. So would you mind sharing maybe a little bit more about the service lines and the population that you serve?
Sure. So St. Vincent de Paul actually started in the 1830s in Paris. And it was actually by some young folks who had the realization that you can't just talk the talk, right? You got to walk the walk. And so they started delivering food and clothes. It was the winter in Paris. And they started doing that sort of hand to hand, person to person. And that stuck. They created a network of charity that a number of different churches got involved with, and it grew to an international organization, was brought to Phoenix in 1946. So we have a really long history here in Phoenix of doing the same work that they started in Paris. Our mantra is feed, clothe, house, heal. And the feed part is what a lot of people know us for. The soup kitchen is sort of the term. I'd almost say kind of a pejorative term. Like, it's not, when you think of a soup kitchen, you don't think of a place that is welcoming and inviting to families and that cares for people on a one-to-one and personal basis. But that's what St. Vincent de Paul does. We turn that notion of soup kitchen, we turn that notion of dental clinic or medical clinic, we turn it on its head and say, no, here at St. Vincent de Paul, it's done on a one-to-one basis. It's done with care and compassion and dignity. We meet people where they are. And I think that's really important and a really unique distinguisher for our work.
So I'm not going to lie, the first time I had heard St. Vincent de Paul, I immediately thought of the food kitchen and that you were, providing meals to the general population. Sure. So I guess, along the way, I've learned a lot of really great things about the organization. Yeah. So 2 of my most favorite stories are the pizza nights that you offer. So if you wouldn't mind maybe sharing a little bit more about that and, how the general public could get further involved or even volunteer for that effort.
Right.
And also the Urban Farm Initiative. That one's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, well, it's also important for everyone to know, and you'll be so upset, you'll be so mad at me for saying this, but part of the reason some of these things are even happening is due to your leadership, and we'll take anyone who comes to volunteer, but there's like a few really special people who say, not only am I going to like show up, I'm going to be all in. And that's what you've been for St. Vincent de Paul for a number of years now. So thank you for that. And so I'll start with the urban farm because of that. Probably 7 years ago now, we had a plot of land kind of in our back 40. It was in between our buildings and the freeway, I-17 at about 7th Avenue. And some volunteers said, I think we can do something with this land. Why don't we try growing food? Currently, we feed 4,500. We put out 4,500 meals a day. And so to grow fresh food is really unique. Cuts down on expense. It brings, the full circle of compostable waste into the garden, into the soil. We plant, we harvest, we wheelbarrow it across the parking lot and bring it straight to the kitchen and serve it that night. I was out there this morning, and it's unique in that we have the capacity to produce 80,000 pounds of fresh produce a year.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's in a food desert. So, but for us, folks might not get this kind of food.
Absolutely. So kind of adding to that, so the folks that wouldn't necessarily get all that food, for me, I had a really hard time grasping that. Like, I just didn't realize that fresh produce wasn't readily available to these individuals. So St. Vincent de Paul, you actually brought in an expert from Arizona State University to share a little bit more about the benefits of introducing fresh produce into these diets and the long-term effects that it has on individuals' long-term health, as far as the battle with diabetes,
right.
And then a lot of these individuals were turning towards high caloric meals just because they were trying to feel full and satisfied temporarily, but that was negatively impacting those individuals. So by introducing the fresh produce, now this is becoming part of their lifestyle. They're teaching these children, how to eat properly from a very young age. So that's been a really neat thing to see. So maybe talk a little bit more about the salad bar now that you have that in the dining room and some of those other initiatives.
Yeah, so you bring up a really good point about how what you put into your body, how you fuel your body affects everything you do, including for kids, how you can pay attention in the classroom. And so what we're doing is in our family evening meal. So you can volunteer in the urban farm, you can volunteer in the family evening meal. We have a component of the family evening meal that's tutoring and homework help called the Dream Center. So all of these areas of what we do just need really caring people who will show up for these families. And as a part of that, when families come in, we serve restaurant style. And once we seat them at their own table with their own waiter or waitress who's a volunteer, we release those tables to go through our salad bar. It is a large part of the stuff is harvested directly on our property. So it's
I want to
really
call
cool.
out something very specific. So you had mentioned, how you treat these individuals with so much dignity, and like they don't feel embarrassed to come into that space because they feel like they're going to a real restaurant or a dining experience. And I think that's something that makes St. Vincent de Paul so special. And people are excited to go there because of the culture and the community that you're building, and that you're like genuinely there to help service and serve those individuals. So thank you for continuing to do that. That's made a large impact and positively impacted so many great people.
Yeah, that's really important. Folks tell us their kids think they're coming to a restaurant. They get to choose what they eat from a menu. They got 2 or 3 entree options a night. The kids get their homework and tutoring help. So it's really kind of nourishing mind, body, soul within that dining room in that 2-hour period. And we always need folks to come in and help out with that.
So nonprofits, there's a number of different nonprofits here in our local community. And as I work with a lot of businesses here in the market, corporate social responsibility, even creating a CSR plan is important to the overall business,
right.
Their growth and, their reputation here in the local market. Yeah. So a lot of these organizations, for instance, I'm actually doing a team building event later this afternoon where we're going to volunteer with another nonprofit. A lot of companies are doing that. So if there is a corporation here in town, if they want to get together, maybe if it's 5 from a smaller group within their office, or if they want to get like a group of 25 to 50 together, what are some of those opportunities that St. Vincent de Paul has to offer?
Yeah, we have 26 different areas in which to volunteer.
I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And when you think about everything from the thrift stores where we need volunteers to the urban farm where get up early, avoid the heat, there's plenty of opportunities. And I'd say one of the things you asked about and I didn't answer yet was about the pizza nights, right? And it's every Friday. Times vary. I think we have a shift from 12 to 3 and a shift from 3 to 6. And so you come in, we teach you everything you need to know about rolling the dough, and we have a homemade pizza sauce, homemade dough. So it's an assembly line. It's a pizza assembly line. And sometimes we do some competitions. We put half the group on one side of the assembly line.
It's actually pretty fun.
It's really fun. And we have to pump out a bunch of pizzas really fast. And so it's an exciting volunteer opportunity. And then when you step back and think about it, you're like, whoa, we just fed like 400 people tonight. Who knows what would have happened if we wouldn't have shown up, right? Yeah. And I think that you have the fun, you do some team building, you positively contribute to the community. We can put a dollar amount on what you produce in that time for the community. And it's significant. We're talking thousands of dollars.
And so curious, as far as time of day that people can volunteer, there's some organizations and individuals that can come and volunteer during the work hours, generally from 8 to 5 or so. Are most of your opportunities taking place during the workday, or is there anything before or after work that people could get involved with?
Yeah, good question. We have everything. And so before the workday, you can come and volunteer at our Phoenix dining room. We need folks there starting at 6 a.m. and you're pretty much done by 8 or 8:15. So you can get into the office pretty quickly, close to downtown. And then after hours, we also have need for our heat relief and our temporary day relief center, where we're making sure families have a place to go that's not the parking lot of a Greyhound station or something like that, right? And so we have volunteers in our, serving those groups of folks past 10 p.m. At night. So there's really something for everyone. And I think what's really important for us, just like we have to meet people where they are when they need something, volunteers, we have to meet them where they are too. Donors, we have to meet them where they are. And so just to have a conversation to understand what they'd like to accomplish as a company or what they'd like to accomplish as a team, we can bring everyone from our volunteer coordinator in the dining room to our marketing folks into that conversation and not only achieve something in those 2 hours, but really tell a story about who the company is and what they value.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. So as an individual in the community, I mean, a lot of us want to get more involved, and I almost feel like a lot of employers are looking at our resumes whether or not we have some community service.
I think so too.
Roped in there. So if you're just starting out, right, let's say you just moved here and you're trying to get integrated in the community, is there like a website or any tools out there that can help people? Like what's a one-stop shop or something that could help people to further identify what nonprofits would align with their mission, vision, and values?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. And this is I think the biggest barrier to folks just jumping all in. You really have to do the work. I don't know of a great community resource where you can say, I'm available at 6 a.m. on Wednesday mornings and it's in this area of town, and they, spit out some results for you and some phone numbers. I don't know that there's something out there. I'd like to be the group that creates that, truthfully, because I think what we're really talking about is community impact, social capital, right? How we all use what we have to make the community better. And so who better to lead that than a group like St. Vincent de Paul, who has 15,000 volunteers come through every year. I would say if you identify categories, right? If you're passionate about animals, there's probably going to be about 5 or 6 that you can look up or call. And then make it about what can you feasibly do? Like what can you really, you're not going to drive from Mesa to Glendale on a Tuesday night when you have to get home and make dinner and blah, 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 blah. It's not going to happen. So what's the group in Mesa that can help you achieve that? Same with St. Vincent de Paul. There's a number of organizations that do really good work in helping to feed people, right? Where can you get to, and what sort of fits your schedule and fits your values, and really do it on fit. We do everything else based on like fit and ease. We shouldn't make volunteerism hard for ourselves. And organizations like St. Vincent de Paul shouldn't make volunteerism hard.
So time is a precious element. I mean, a lot of us, we're going a million miles per hour. Yeah. We're trying to balance our personal and professional lives. And so adding in extracurricular activities or volunteering can be a little challenging for a lot of us. But for those individuals that are like, I don't necessarily have the time to get involved, but I do have the financials to, kind of get involved or make small donations from time to time. I think one really cool thing that St. Vincent de Paul is now offering is that, you guys are getting actually pretty high tech, I would say, in the sense that now you're utilizing platforms like Amazon.
Right.
And just listing, we need help with supplying the needs of deodorant, water, underwear was one of them. Whatever it may be, you guys are putting that on there. So I think maybe if you could share a little bit more about how you guys are trying to meet everybody with where they're at, and if they can't give their time, maybe they can give some financial dollars.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think nonprofits, for-profits, whoever you are, if you don't have some good capability on that smartphone, you're already behind. Right. And I think a lot of nonprofits fall into that category as already being behind on not investing in their digital capabilities. And so we are trying to catch up just as kind of a segment of businesses, so to speak. But what St. Vincent de Paul's done is we've noticed that, and we've said, we could build something custom, which is expensive and time consuming, and we can't help people today. Or we could use what's already out there. And we used Amazon wish list. We created a really targeted list. We know people are traveling. We also know they still get their emails, right? They still check their LinkedIn or their Facebook. And so we're asking, actually our advisory board asked us to make sure that they had something to put out into the community, into their networks, so people can 2 clicks and give, right? So whether you found it on Facebook or you searched Amazon, you can find our St. Vincent de Paul Summer Action Hero wish list. Click on the buy deodorant, it'll ship directly to us, and you have your receipt.
And I think for a lot of individuals, I mean, we get asked to donate money on a regular basis, whether that's personally or even, working for the organizations that we do. But for me, I just think it's so nice to see, okay, those dollars are going to this specific item. Like I know it's going to these food items, or it's going to these toiletries or whatever it may be. To me, I feel like I'm that much closer to the mission and helping to serve that individual. So I think that's a great thing that you guys are now offering and introducing that. There's so many wonderful stories that I've heard from St. Vincent de Paul. I think one of my all-time favorites was just talking about one of the individuals that does work in the kitchen. I actually, if you wouldn't mind sharing it, I think you can do a much better job kind of sharing the story as far as the people that St. Vincent de Paul has helped to serve, and then that ROI into the community and how they continue to come back and continue that mission.
Yeah. I was with our chef this morning, and we were on a tour, and I said, Chef Chris isn't going to tell you, but he was working at the Ritz-Carlton Montego Bay. He's worked at the Phoenician. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. It's not, it's not me in there cooking and serving up some stuff, which is all that it could be described. Yeah. This guy really knows what he's doing. And so as he was transitioning, moving back into the States from Jamaica, recently married, recent first child, there was just stuff going on, right? I think it was some health stuff. I think there was some car stuff, trouble
extra
finding
bills.
a job, extra bills. And he came to St. Vincent de Paul for some help. And he told the people, if I can ever repay this, I will. And I think 3 years ago, we had our opening for our executive chef, and he applied. And this is part of his way of paying it back. And the fact that he's kind of been through the line, so to speak, he just cares for people that much more. Like when we're talking about making 4,500 meals, it's a one-by-one meal thing for him because it's a one-to-one human interaction.
I love that story.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that with everyone. So another, piece of that is, obviously helping out in the kitchen, having the chef. There's been some great introductions to other great restaurants here in the community.
Absolutely.
You guys have a restaurant takeover of the kitchen. Could you share a little bit more about what that looks like and maybe some more details on that?
Yeah, mostly a brainchild from our advisory board. We had a couple people who worked in the restaurant industry. One worked directly for Fox Restaurants, and one was their PR ad person from an outside agency. And they said something to me one time. They're like, restaurateurs, business owners, back to your point, get asked for money all the time. And no one thinks about like, what are they really good at? What are you unique at? And asking for that. And so I looked at the people I was with. I said, well, you're really good at creating a dining experience. Would you do that for our guests? And they said, without a doubt. And so they came into our kitchen and they brought basically the menu from the Henry.
Wow.
Which we've all
really
been to.
Good food.
We all love it, right? And they did it right there. 400 people. Table settings, real menus, their servers, right? They had servers from a number of their different restaurants, and they showed up and they did such a phenomenal job just caring for people. It's like if, they served those folks maybe with more intentionality and care than they even do on a normal nightly basis. And it was just a really cool feeling in the room. And from that, we've had others come on board. U.S. Foods, who does the distribution for a lot of our restaurants in the area, they do probably 2 or 3 a year now. But one of my absolute favorites, and mostly it's because I just love the people who run the business, Wildflower Bread Company. Tracy and Lewis are just incredible humans. I've gotten to know them kind of outside of their restaurant and outside of St. Vincent de Paul, and they just do such incredible work for the community. And I appreciate them most because they don't wait to be asked. They see something and they're like, this is in front of us right now. We're going to do it. So
says a lot about them.
Yeah, just as a family, and the people that they hire are the same way. And so I go to Wildflower as much as I can. Whenever we have an advisory board meeting, our lunch is from Wildflower, right?
Oh, now I'm going to notice that.
Yeah. and so they're just fantastic, and they've helped spread the word and get other people in. Mm-hmm. They don't view this as competition, right? This is like, we live, work, and play in this community. We have to serve it too.
Yep, they're vested partners.
Yes,
Love that.
They are.
So a lot of times we automatically associate St. Vincent de Paul with the food kitchen and the food that you serve and providing people, a warm meal. There are a lot of individuals that aren't necessarily homeless, and they may not just need a meal, but there's some other service lines that you do provide that, if people have a health issue, right? There are some service lines that you offer, and I don't think a lot of people necessarily know about that. Would you mind sharing more about the dental and health clinic? Yeah,
so we've just expanded both our medical and dental clinics. We've doubled the size of each, and it's true. If you build it, they will come. We've had a lot of folks walk into our clinics or be referred to our clinics where other places can't help them, or they've run out of resources to help them. People show up at our medical clinic and our dental clinic in incredible pain, like physically, mentally, emotionally, just pain. And both our medical director and our dental directors, they just view this as like, we're here to take you in, to relieve that pain, and to help you get to the next step. Dr. Ken Snyder, who's our dentist, he says a lot, St. Vincent de Paul is a place of last resort, like especially our medical and dental clinic. And if we say no to a person, it's no. Like, not just now, but it's no. And so if we can't help those people when they come in, like if we're like, oh, well, we're busy, or we ran out of money, or, the right person's not here today. I mean, sometimes these things are life and death, and that's not dramatic. I mean, we're in the middle of the summer where heat-related deaths are real, right? And if we can't help people get the right food, or get hydrated, or give them sunscreen, or get rid of that toothache that is causing them to not eat, this could be really bad for them. And so our medical and dental teams, our facilities are top notch. Not just
and
for a
the
charity
service providers
clinic.
too.
Yeah, and that's what's really cool about our healthcare communities. We have people who will take a half day on Friday, and instead of going to the golf course like I would do because I'm selfish, right? They show up and they say, I'm going to donate my oral surgery services for a half day.
Like some of the best in the valley.
The best in the valley. In the medical clinic, we're partnered with Mayo Clinic and ASU, right? In the dental clinic, we take oral surgery residents from Banner U of A. These are the best, and they're folks who are starting off their careers with service in mind and caring for everybody. That oath that they take, they're truly caring for everybody.
So speaking of the dental clinic, I absolutely love Doc Snyder. He probably is one of my most favorite people in the entire world. He's just that amazing, and his stories are always so touching, but he always has a really great positive spin to all of them. So at the annual breakfast that St. Vincent de Paul hosts for the community, he always shares a couple different stories. Yeah. One of my most favorite ones, I think I was definitely crying at the breakfast over this one, but I believe she was around 13 years old, that she had some prosthetics. She just had a little clip in, and her mouth had outgrown that. So she would never smile. She wasn't making friends. She wasn't engaging in conversation. I mean, granted, she was an absolutely beautiful and super kind and sweet young woman. Her parents did well. They could afford to have a decent living, but they couldn't afford that financial obligation to help her to get her teeth fixed. So St. Vincent de Paul stepped up and helped her in that process. And now when you meet this young woman, she has the biggest and brightest smile. She's come out of her shell. So those are the ways in which St. Vincent de Paul is helping to really help those individuals in our community and really changing their life and their trajectory. Yeah,
thanks for sharing that. And part of what makes that possible is I think we have like real heroes in our community. People like Sue Glaw at Blue Cross Blue Shield, Jerry Wissink at Legacy Foundation. Those are two people who just come to mind, like right off the top of my head, who, when they see something that needs to be done, they do it. And you have a choice. When you're at that level in business, you have a choice. And they don't look at it as that. They look at it as a responsibility to lead. This is what comes with the territory of being a community leader. And I just think the world of people like Sue Glaw and Jerry Wissink. They're the folks who step up and help the Courtneys of the world.
Right. So for those individuals that want to learn more about St. Vincent de Paul, are there any social platforms or a website or something that they should look at?
Yeah, we're everywhere. That's been a huge emphasis over the last few years to really engage people on social media. But the best place, and the place where you can find the videos and the stories and the blog, is kind of our initials, svdpaz.org. And I really encourage people to go read the blog. We have really talented storytellers on our marketing team who could probably make a lot more money elsewhere. But they just care so much, and it comes out in their storytelling, and they have an incredible blog.
And for those individuals that want to connect with a real live person, is there one or two individuals within St. Vincent de Paul they should try and reach out to direct?
Yeah, of course. I'm always happy to take some of those calls, emails. I'm just Ryan at svdpaz.org. And then anyone in our volunteer services office. We have a really good team over there who tries they try to match people with what is going to bring them joy and meaning. And I think that's something more and more. I think about myself and my friends. The part of the fun about being involved in St. Vincent de Paul is you belong, right? You belong to something that's really powerful. And it does bring a lot of joy and a lot of meaning. And I've met some of the best friends I'll have for the rest of my life, because of St. Vincent de Paul.
It is a pretty magical organization, and I feel incredibly close to those individuals that I've been able to work with on some of these great mission projects. I can share, too, for any of those individuals that want to learn a little bit more, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I do share all of the posts as far as upcoming needs and events, as well as ways to volunteer. Even if you want to come and volunteer with some of the advisory board members, always happy to, if you want to join somebody in that initiative rather than just going and doing it on your own, we would love to have you. So thank you, Ryan, for joining us today, and look forward to continuing to serve with St. Vincent de Paul.
Thanks for all you do, and thanks for letting me be here.